Welcome everyone to the first Open Humanities Data Forum. It's great to see all of you here. This is the first time we run an event like this, and we've had really a nice, good level of participation. So it's really exciting to see you all here. So the event will be run on Zoom. As you can see, you are all muted. So thank you for staying muted while we give the presentations. That will ensure that we don't hear background noise. We'll also have a feature. We'll be using Slido for engagement. I'll show you how it works. So this is the first time I use it, so I hope it all goes well. And we'll have some speakers speaking after me, and then at the end we'll have a Q&A. So if you have burning questions, feel free to type them in the chat or on Slido, as I'll show you. But after, in any case, after all the talks, you'll have plenty of time to ask questions. And actually, that's exactly what what this event is for, is to listen to you and to hear your questions. So I'm gonna share my screen so that we can start. Okay. So welcome everyone. I'm Barbara McGillivray. If you don't know me, I am a research fellow at the Alan Turing Institute and at the University of Cambridge. And I'm also editor-in-chief of the Journal of Open Humanities Data. And I have worked in academic publishing before coming back to academia. My background is in classics and mathematics. I have these 2 degrees, and then I did a PhD in computational linguistics. And in the past few years, I've been working more and more in digital humanities and computational humanities. So as I said at the beginning, we're gonna use Slido to make this whole event a bit more interactive. So all you need to do is to go to slido.com when I'll tell you to do so, and type the code. So you can do that on your phone. That's probably the easiest, because that way you won't have to switch between Zoom and Slido, but otherwise you can just open a new tab on a new browser window and just type slido.com and the code. And don't worry if you don't remember the code, it will appear in all my slides. It's a 63026. Alternatively, you can scan the code here with your phone. So this is the program for today. I'm going to speak for about 20 minutes, and then I'll hand over to Martin Ribery, who's going to talk for 10 minutes about his experience as an author. And then Mandy and Saba will introduce the COVID-19 special collection. And the last 40 minutes of the event will be for discussion and Q&A. Slido allows you to ask questions live. If you have a burning question, you can either type it in the chat in Zoom if you're most comfortable doing that, or in the Slido Q&A. So this is what Slido looks like, and we're going to break the ice with the first question that I'd like you to think about. So let's see if this works. If you go to slido.com and you type the code 63026, the question that I've prepared for you is, what counts as data in your opinion? This event is about open humanities data, but we may not have all the same view of what data actually is. I can see people are starting to type. Information means, yes, please. Structured data, text, bold signal. Okay. Participant responses, analyzable. Information is pretty popular. Text, all information collected, like that. Anything informative. Nice. Analyzable information, multimodal, everything digital. Okay, nice. Yeah, that's great. I can see more answers coming in. Yeah, that's very interesting to see. There seem to be some agreement on the two words, information and analyzable, but there's of course a variety of different forms that the data can take. And yes, I also like it when I say anything informative. And someone also stressed the digital format. So yes, this is a collage of different data formats that I could think of. Maps, surveys, databases, spreadsheets, concordances if you're a linguist, grammar, dictionary, but also audio and video material, text, numbers, as I said, maps. All of these forms are can be considered data. I agree with you on this very comprehensive and inclusive definition of data. And we are here to talk about open humanities data. Now, this is not a new concept. The humanities have produced and collected reusable data for centuries, way before the digital age. I always like to mention Father Roberto Busa, the pioneer of digital humanities, because I had the opportunity to work on his Index Domesticus during my PhD. And this was a massive project that went on for several decades, from the second half of last century till the end of last century. And the idea was to collect all texts written by Thomas Aquinas. So it was a massive enterprise. It was 11 million words, which is a considerable amount even for today's standards. And at the time, it was really impressive. And this project is considered the first digital humanities project, and it started with people collecting the data in punched cards, and then magnetic tapes, and then CD-ROM, and now the Index Domesticus is available online, and it's a great example of a data set, a resource produced in the humanities, and certainly not the first, and certainly not the last. What we've seen with the digital revolution is increasing amounts of data being digitized, and as you all know, cultural heritage institutions, lots of projects on this. And so what is different now is that it's increasingly easier to share data, store data, and collect data. If you, for example, want to interview people or do a survey, it's relatively easy nowadays to do that online. So we have increasingly easy access to data. So the question becomes how to best manage data, how to make sure it's properly stored, and the work that goes in it properly credited. By the way, I usually use data as plural because that's the Latin form, but sometimes I slip into using it as a singular because that's the most common usage of the word today. So some myths about data. Some people may think data have to be big, but that's not the case. again, an example from linguistics, Swadesh list, it's famous list of words that was created by Swadesh in the 20th century, and it's not very long. But it's been incredibly useful for generations of linguists. A lot of the examples I've given you are for text-based data, but that's definitely not a requirement. Also, sometimes you think of data, think of a database, but that's not needed. It's not, the data doesn't have to be in a database. It doesn't even have to be complex or automatically generated. So an analysis in a spreadsheet or in a Word document, potentially it can count as data. So when I think about what we call the traditional research process, we have different sources. Maybe it's set of texts, maybe it's visual data, maybe it's audio interviews. All of these sources go into analysis, code, reading, and at the end we have a data and a normal traditional prose paper that describes this whole analysis. What's left out of this process is all the work that goes into creating a resource. In linguistics, for example, corpora are kind of classic resource that people spend a lot of time creating, and it doesn't always get credited in the final publication. So how to make sure that all that work is recognized and credited? Well, one way is through a data paper, which I'll say more about later. Another problem, if you want, with traditional research process is that as part of the research, we often create additional data sets. We have maybe spreadsheet where we take notes about our analysis. Maybe it's extra annotation. And all of these data sets are very important for others to reproduce what we've done and to build on our research. But often these data sets are not credited, they're not published in their own right. The emphasis is on the final prose article. So again, that has an effect on, well, crediting the work that goes into creating them, but also making it harder for others to reproduce the research. So again, data paper addresses this need because it gives a space to publish descriptions of these data sets. So this is an example from linguistics. It's my research area. I did a study on the spoken British National Corpus, which was created in 2014. And the study was published as a traditional paper, a chapter in a book, where we describe this particular phenomenon called dative alternation, where certain verbs allow two different constructions. I give you the book and I give the book to you. And so we analyzed the social linguistic differences between these two constructions. But as a complementary information to that chapter, we also published the data. So this is a repository called Figshare, where we deposited the data, which is basically a series of scripts, and also a comma-separated values file. And that was main part of the contribution. So what we did was we selected a subset of this corpus, the spoken corpus, and then we added information. So we annotated, for example, the topic of the conversation where this construction was observed, the type of object that was being given, etc. And all of that was an important part of the analysis. So the data set was then published as a data paper. I published this one in the Journal of Open Humanities Data before becoming editor-in-chief. And just to show you what this data paper looks like, it's quite short, and it's focused on describing the data set. So there's a section on method, a section on location of the repository, description of the data set itself, who created the data set, what it's called, when it was created, information about what goes in each column of this CSV file, and then a section on the reuse potential, which is really important because the point of sharing data is that others can reuse them. So the landscape of data journals is growing. It's still growing, and still a niche space. The sciences started before the humanities in this respect, with quite a few journals dedicated to this data papers, so descriptions of data sets. In the humanities, we have the Journal of Open Humanities Data, the Research Data Journal for the Humanities and Social Sciences. We also have the dataset section of the Journal of Cultural Analytics, and then specific data journals like Journal of Open Archaeology Data, so for archaeology. So the Journal of Open Humanities Data is the journal that I'm leading, and it aims at being a key part of a thriving community of scholars sharing humanities data. So this event is part of this effort towards building this community. And it's open access, as you would expect. The whole point is it gives credit for sharing data. It's peer reviewed, so it gives that stamp of quality approval. It focuses on the potential of the data sets for reuse. And we have a list of recommended repositories. So before writing a data paper, we ask authors to deposit their data in a repository that gives the data digital object identifier, so a unique identifier, and it gives it long-term preservation. So these are the advantages of repositories. They're recognized by the academic community. They allow public access to data, and they give these identifiers. So I can walk you quickly through the actual journal website, where you can see that this is the homepage. The About the Journal shows the focus of the journal and the scope, the two types of papers that we publish, short data papers, which are really short descriptions of data sets, and longer research papers, which are longer narratives about issues on creation, collection, analysis of data. The submission process is explained in the submissions page. We can get into more details if you want to.